My sister faked cancer for attention, and my parents knew the whole time. It all started when my sister, Emily, told us she had cancer. At first, we were shocked and terrified. No one ever expects to hear something like that from someone so young and healthy. The way she described her symptoms, the doctor visits, the tests, it all sounded so real. Naturally, our entire family rallied around her. Mom and Dad took time off work, I rearranged my schedule, and everyone just wanted to be there for her. But, as the weeks passed, something started to feel off. Emily's symptoms seemed inconsistent, and she was always eager to tell dramatic stories about how sick she was, but somehow we never saw her actually struggle. When I visited her, she seemed fine. Too fine. It didn't add up, but I didn't want to doubt her. After all, she was my sister. I wanted to believe every word she said. What confused me even more was how Mom and Dad reacted. They were overly supportive, almost too understanding of her excuses and sudden changes in mood. I thought maybe the stress of the situation was just getting to them, but deep down, I wondered if they knew something I didn't. One day, I overheard a whispered conversation between Mom and Dad. They were talking about how Emily's cancer was never confirmed by any doctor. My heart sank. Were they hiding something from me? From everyone? I confronted them quietly that night, but they just told me to trust them and that it was complicated. That only made me more suspicious. I started paying closer attention to Emily's actions. I found that she was skipping doctor appointments, and when she was at home, she was acting like nothing was wrong. I began talking to friends of hers, and found out she wasn't telling anyone outside the family about her illness. It was like this secret she was living inside a bubble of attention and sympathy that she seemed desperate for. The truth was beginning to emerge, but I wasn't ready for how deep this deception went. My sister had been faking cancer all along, not for a few days or weeks, but for months. The shocking part, my parents had known from the start. They had been protecting her, hiding the truth, and enabling her behavior. And I was stuck in the middle, trying to make sense of a family that was falling apart behind closed doors. After realizing what was going on, I didn't know what to do. I felt betrayed by Emily and confused by my parents. Why would they let her lie like that? Why protect her when it was hurting all of us? I wanted answers, but every time I tried to bring it up, Mom and Dad shut me down with vague explanations. They said Emily was fragile, that she needed help, and that exposing the truth would break her. It felt like they were more worried about protecting her image than the truth or our family's well-being. Emily, meanwhile, acted as if nothing was wrong. She continued to tell dramatic stories about her treatments and hospital stays. She would post vague messages on social media about battling cancer, and people from all over sent their support. I hated seeing the sympathy she was getting for something that wasn't real. At the same time, part of me still worried for her. What kind of pain or emptiness makes someone fake such a serious illness? I wanted to help her, but how do you help someone who's trapped in their own web of lies? One evening, I found Emily crying in her room. I sat down next to her and gently asked why she was doing all this. That's when she broke down and told me everything. She said she felt invisible in the family, always overshadowed by my achievements and our other siblings. She wanted attention, love, and care, things she felt she could only get by being sick. She admitted it started as a small lie, but grew into something she couldn't stop. She was scared to tell the truth, because she thought she'd lose everything: our family, her friends, and her identity. I felt a mixture of sadness and anger. It was clear she was hurting deeply, but the damage she caused was real and painful for all of us. I promised her I would be there for her, but also told her that the lies couldn't continue. The family needed to heal, and that meant facing the truth. The next day, I decided to talk to Mom and Dad again, this time with Emily there. I wanted us all to be honest with each other. To my surprise, they agreed. They confessed that they had hoped the cancer story was real, so they could protect Emily from whatever was going on inside her. But hiding the truth had only made things worse. This was the turning point for us. We realized that if we wanted to move forward, we had to face the reality of the situation, no matter how painful it was. We started looking for professional help for Emily and tried to rebuild the trust that had been broken in our family. It wasn't easy, and it took time, but the first step was finally being honest with each other. As the weeks went by, the weight of the situation started to settle in. Emily was going through a tough time. The lies had caught up with her, and she had to confront the consequences of her actions. But I could see that she was genuinely trying to turn things around. She started therapy, though she was hesitant at first. I could tell it was a difficult process for her to open up about why she felt the need to fake cancer in the first place. It was painful watching her struggle with herself, but I also understood her better. In some twisted way, her actions were a cry for help. Emily had never been the one to ask for attention directly. Instead, she chose the extreme route of faking a deadly disease to make people notice her. It was heartbreaking to realize just how far she had gone to feel like she mattered. But even though Emily was making progress, the rest of the family was still reeling. The trust had been shattered. Friends and relatives felt betrayed, and the emotional toll on all of us was immense. We had to face the fact that we couldn't undo the damage Emily's lies had caused. Her friends, many of whom had been there for her during her so-called treatments, were angry and confused. They felt deceived, and rightly so. It wasn't just Emily who had been living in a lie. The whole family had been complicit in it. I remember one conversation with my dad, where I asked him how he could allow Emily to get away with it for so long. His answer was something I wasn't expecting. He said he didn't know how to handle Emily's behavior. He didn't know how to deal with the pain she had been hiding behind all the lies. He admitted that he had been trying to protect her from the truth, but in doing so, he had enabled her actions. It was a hard pill to swallow, but it was also a moment of clarity for me. We all had a part to play in this. Even if it was out of love or fear. We decided to take some time apart from the chaos to rebuild, starting with small steps. We began having open conversations about our feelings, both about what Emily had done and how we could all move forward. The family didn't heal overnight, and I don't think it ever will fully. But what Emily did was the wake-up call we needed to stop pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. Through therapy, Emily began to open up more about her feelings of inadequacy and the deep-rooted insecurities she had. I started to see a shift in her. She wasn't using lies to cope anymore. Instead, she was facing her demons head-on. It was still a struggle, though. She had lost a lot of friends, and the guilt weighed heavily on her. We had to rebuild those relationships slowly, and some people just couldn't move past what she had done. It was going to take time, but as a family, we decided we would keep trying. And despite the mistakes, I knew Emily had the potential to change. I had to believe that, because she was my sister, and family meant that much to me. As time passed, Emily's journey to rebuild trust didn't get any easier. The weight of her past actions still loomed over her, and while she was trying to make things right, the wounds she had inflicted were not so easily healed. I remember one evening, months after everything had come to light, when Emily came over to visit. She sat on the couch, looking so much smaller than I remembered. She had always been the bold one, the life of the party, and now she looked defeated, as though the weight of everything was slowly crushing her. "Do you think they'll ever forgive me?" Emily asked quietly, her eyes downcast. It was the first time she had asked me that question. It wasn't the same, "I'm sorry," we had all heard before. This was different. It was the sound of someone trying to find peace with what they had done, knowing that forgiveness was not something they could demand. "I don't know, Em," I replied honestly. "Some things can't be fixed, and some people won't ever get over what you did. But I think you can start making it right with the ones who are still here." Her shoulders slumped as she nodded. I could tell it wasn't the answer she wanted, but it was the truth. She had to live with the consequences of her actions, and while people might eventually come around, the road to redemption was a long one. But Emily wasn't giving up. She started volunteering at a local shelter, helping people who were facing real health battles. No lies, no pretending. She started giving back in a way that felt genuine. Her work there was therapeutic for her. It gave her a sense of purpose beyond the lies she had once told. Slowly but surely, I saw Emily transforming from someone who desperately craved attention into someone who wanted to help others, to earn back some of the trust she had lost. At the same time, I couldn't help but feel conflicted. Part of me wanted to keep pushing for her to make things right with our extended family, to make amends, to apologize directly to those she had hurt. But another part of me knew that time was the only thing that could heal those relationships. We had all been through so much together, and the damage she had done couldn't be undone in a simple conversation. It was going to take years, if ever, for some people to truly forgive her. And yet, I was still there for her. We had our conversations about the lies, about her pain, about the distance between us and the rest of the world. I could see Emily growing, even if it was in the smallest of ways. There was no magic solution to the mess she had made. It was a slow process, but it was progress. As we sat there that evening, talking through the hurt and the healing, I realized that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It meant accepting the mistakes, acknowledging the harm, and learning how to move forward despite everything. It was the hardest lesson, but one I was willing to teach her. The road ahead would be long, but I was finally ready to walk it with her, knowing that she had the potential to truly change. Months turned into a year, and Emily continued down the path of redemption. She kept up with her volunteering, started attending therapy to work through her deep-seated issues, and was learning how to rebuild her self-esteem. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when the guilt would overwhelm her. I remember once when she broke down in tears, saying, "I don't know if I can ever make it up to them. How do I face them after everything?" It was one of those moments when I didn't have an answer that could make the pain go away. "You can't erase what's happened, Em," I said softly. "But what you can do is live your life in a way that shows you've learned from your mistakes. Keep being the person you're becoming now, someone who's honest, who's caring. That's the only way forward." It was then that she truly started to believe in the possibility of healing. Not just for herself, but for everyone she had wronged. And it wasn't just about gaining back the love and trust of our family. It was about rebuilding her life on her own terms, without needing the validation of others. She began to focus on her career, working in a field that helped people in real ways, not one that thrived on attention-seeking or manipulation. I saw a shift in the way people treated her too. At first, many of our relatives and friends refused to speak to her. But as she consistently showed up, putting in the work to make amends, making a genuine effort to apologize and hold herself accountable, slowly, some started to come around. It was a painful process for everyone involved, but it was a step in the right direction. One evening, after a long day of work, Emily called me. "I did it," she said, her voice shaky but full of emotion. "I apologized to Aunt Mary. I don't know if she's ready to forgive me, but I told her everything. I just had to do it, you know?" I could hear the relief in her voice, and I knew that it wasn't just about gaining forgiveness. It was about her finally confronting her own demons, owning her mistakes, and facing the consequences head-on. It was a moment of true growth for Emily. The healing process wasn't linear. There were still setbacks, moments of doubt, and painful realizations. But through it all, Emily remained committed to being better, to righting the wrongs she had caused, even if the journey was long and uncertain. And as for me, I stood by her side, as I always would, watching her fight to earn back what she had lost. I realized that sometimes the hardest thing isn't forgiving someone, it's giving them the chance to prove they can change. I wasn't sure if Emily would ever fully regain the trust of everyone she hurt, but I believed in her potential to rebuild her life and become someone who could be proud of herself again. In the end, Emily learned that honesty, hard work, and patience were the keys to mending broken relationships, and that sometimes the most difficult road to walk is the one where you have to face your past and own your mistakes. It wasn't easy, and it still isn't, but she was no longer the person she used to be, and that, in itself, was a victory.